Hello, welcome back to Starla Play Football with myself, Theo. As always, thank you very much for joining this video. Now, if you are new here, if you're new to the channel, again, please make sure you subscribe. You hit that subscribe button right down there. You also like this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments about what we're going to be discussing. And we're talking Chelsea. We're talking defensive mistakes at Chelsea currently, who are now 2 points out of 12, a possible 12 points in the last 4 games. It's not looking good for Chelsea, if we're being honest. And defensively, we're seeing a lot of injuries now with Benoit Badiashile and also Wesley Fofana, who initially was told by Maresca last week will be out for the remainder of the season. But Wesley Fofana has come back unofficially via Instagram to say that he will be back 4 to 6 weeks. So we're talking maybe start of Feb, end of Feb. We might see Wesley Fofana back. Now, it does throw a lot of things into the spanner for Chelsea. Obviously, this is a team that was steamrolling their way into second position, trying to push Liverpool for the league. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk. If you listen to the live stream earlier that we did, you'll hear my thoughts about Maresca and his title challenge talk to the press. But I do think with Chelsea now, they have to seriously consider bringing in a centre-back in this window, this winter window. Because if you look at Chelsea now, they have Tosin, Levi Colwill. We saw Josh Achiampong, who is a very, very good early candidate to maybe replace Malo Gusto or Reece James at right back, but he was essentially playing centre back on Saturday against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. That cannot be sustainable for a club that is trying to sustain top 4 this season. So I think Chelsea really need to evaluate their options going forward, whether they dip into the window and look at the centre backs that are out there. A lot of talk currently has come out about, of course, Marc Guehi from Crystal Palace. Now, Marc Guehi, obviously formerly of Chelsea, according to Fabrizio Romano, is in contention to be considered by Chelsea in a what would be potentially a shock transfer back to Stamford Bridge after many years of leaving the club in his earlier career. He might be coming back to Stamford Bridge. Now, there is also consideration being given by the Chelsea ownership whether to recall Trevoh Chalobah. Now, if you're a fan favourite of the From the Shed End, which is my other channel, the Chelsea channel, you'll know already my thoughts on Trevoh Chalobah and the fact that I personally think Trevoh Chalobah should stay at Crystal Palace, mainly for personal reasons, and the personal reasons I'm going to go into shortly. But Trevoh Chalobah is a really good centre-back. He's got the qualities, very calm on the ball, very good in the air, aerially, agility-wise. He's also chipping in, as you've seen this season. I think he's got 3 goals for Crystal Palace from a defensive outlet for Crystal Palace. So he's actually good now. He's chipping in with goals. He's getting forward a bit more for Crystal Palace in those set pieces. So I think he's having a really good season under Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace. And I think he's building up a really good partnership with Marc Guehi in their defensive line. We also have to remember how Chelsea handled the situation with Trevoh Chalobah. This is why I say, from the personal reasons, why I think Trevoh Chalobah should stay at Crystal Palace, because this is 2 seasons on the bounce. This club, Todd Boehly and co, have tried to move Trevoh Chalobah out of the club. They failed last season. If you remember, there was talks about him potentially going to Bayern Munich. That fell apart at the back end of the transfer window last season. And then this season, he was told to train on his own. He was exiled from the squad on a number of occasions, and eventually got a loan move to Crystal Palace. Now, he's actually been doing really well at Crystal Palace. He looks like he's enjoying himself there. Now, if we do come in for Trevoh Chalobah and recall him from his loan, there is no guarantee. We've seen it with Keenan Dewsbury-Hall. We've seen it with Cesare Casadei, another player that is on the way out now. Looks like he's moving to Torino on a permanent basis. There's no guarantee that Trevoh Chalobah is going to hold down a regular slot in this Chelsea squad. And it's cutthroat. We've seen it already. We've seen certain players like Ben Chilwell, Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount as well before that. We've seen players just be let go. Now, Trevoh Chalobah for me is a really good centre-back. Marc Guehi, another really good centre-back. I still think, as a Chelsea fan myself, we need more experience in that defensive line. Again, if you've been listening on my From the Shed End channel, you'll realize that realistically we need to bring in someone who can do the job experience wise. I'm talking, I mean, we could have got Matt Hummels, Chelsea fans, at the start of the season. He was a free transfer. There's players out there that we could potentially go for. And if I'm honest, bringing in Trevoh Chalobah now at this part of the season, 1, it's going to disrupt Crystal Palace. 2, it disrupts how well Trevoh Chalobah has been playing. As I said, There's no guarantee he's going to get the game time at Chelsea as well. And also, it still doesn't address the major issue at Chelsea. There isn't any experience in that back line. There isn't any Thiago Silva, John Terry, Ricardo Carvalho, Gary Cahill. There's none of those players. Branislav Ivanovic. There's none of those sort of experienced players that you could say will get you over the line in a game. You know, you don't lose a 1-0 lead and then end up losing the game 2-1 against Fulham if you've got that experience in there. You don't lose 2-0 to Ipswich if you've got that experience in there. So I'm not saying Trevoh Chalobah can't do that, but I do still question, what is the purpose of bringing him back? Is it just to cover for the injuries? Well, that's something that I think the ownership has to now be scrutinised about. The transfers that the Chelsea ownership have brought in terms of Fofana, Badia Shil, Dizazi, you know, not good enough. Not good enough. Fofana now has missed a hell of a lot of football at Chelsea, and there's a massive question mark about whether he's ever going to be able to regain that level of football that we hoped he could do at Chelsea. We may never see that. We might never see that level of football we hoped to see from Wesley Fofana. Dizazi is just a disaster, literally. There's not much I can say about him. I mean, Maresca definitely overthought things against Ipswich by playing Dizazi as a right back when you've got 3 right backs in Josh Ashiempong, Reece James and Malo Gusto on the bench. So that's just an experiment that was going to fail from the start. I personally think Dizazi, Badia Shil are not good enough. I think there's a defender in Tosin, and obviously it's the most risk-free one, with it being a free transfer from Fulham, the back end of last season. But I think we have to bring in experience. We have to go and get an experienced centre-back, whether that's this winter window or in the summer. But we have to somehow find our way out of this mess now, because it almost feels like all the good parts of the season that we've had early on in this season are now coming apart very quickly. You know, look at the results on the pitch. You're looking at some sort of discontention between owner and manager. There seems to be a bit of friction going on there as well. Things have to change very quickly for Chelsea, because if they don't, next couple of games are Bournemouth. I think we play Manchester City as well in between there. I'm going to say maybe Aston Villa, Brighton are the next four Premier League fixtures alongside Morecambe. But we have to win those games. And you're looking at that defensive line, you're looking at the lack of quality in goalkeepers that we currently have at the club as well. There's a lot that could go wrong in the next 4 or 5 weeks at this club. Now, I personally think Maresca's been brought in to get top 4 this season, not to win the Premier League, but to definitely get top 4, win the Conference League, build from there. But if we don't get top 4, it's a massive failure. And I think that one will be on the ownership, because the ownership have overlooked the goalkeeper situation for a bit too long now. You know, Petrovic has been sent out on loan. You've got Kepa out on loan. Sanchez isn't good enough. Jurgensen hasn't really been tested enough or given the consistency to see what he can do. So I don't think the ownership can be given a green pass for this one. This is on them. Maresca has to stop overthinking things. Play your right back as a right back. Maybe put the trust in Tosin and Levi Colwill, but I still think recalling Trevoh Chalobah for me would be the wrong choice. It's the wrong choice for the player. It's the wrong choice for the club. You know, you're expecting him to pick up the speed of where we are, understand what Maresca wants from him at such a quick succession, and maybe Chalobah can do that. But me personally, I think we need to go into the market and look at who's available European-wide across the piece, really, across European football. The downside to that is it goes against the model. You know, it goes against the Chelsea way of doing things, of bringing in young talent and nurturing, integrating them into the squad. Now, to credit Josh Ashiempong, he actually didn't put a foot wrong at centre-back against Crystal Palace, but he will come up against bigger tests over the next couple of weeks, as I said, with Villa, Bournemouth, who are high and flying, chasing us on our tails for top 4 or European spot. Man City, another team that we know we haven't got the best of records at Etihad as well. So not saying that Josh Ashiempong can't do the job there, but he's very young. So is Levi Colwill, who's a lot of experience is expected from him. We've got to find a solution to this issue very quickly at Chelsea. And I think if we don't, then potentially what might happen is you'll see very quickly the cracks starting to show that we've been covered over, essentially, with £1.5 billion worth of players, but they're not the right players. And sometimes you have to go against your model of not signing the youngster that can lead your team to glory in 10 years' time. You need to to sign someone here and now that will just give you that reassurance at the back, that will just give you a bit more confidence that we had with Thiago Silva, that we had with John Terry, that we had with Gary Cahill, even with Rudiger. You know, we had Antonio Rudiger, who at times, you know, was a mixed opinion across the fan base. But when it mattered, you know, Rudiger was a solid rock at the back. We haven't got that. And recalling Trevoh Chalobah, I don't think is the answer to that. Me personally, I would love to see Trevoh Chalobah stay where he is, get the best of his football, hopefully get a permanent deal. You know, Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace are not against that if they can get the deal done for him. But they have to make sure, from a personal, selfish point from Trevoh Chalobah, that whatever's happening in between these two teams is the best option for Trevoh Chalobah, because he's been treated dirty by this club, 2 seasons on the bounce. He doesn't essentially deserve this, in my opinion. From a Chelsea perspective, yes, cover at the back is brilliant. You know, we've got another centre-back, but why should he come back, I suppose, is the question. Why should he come back to the club that wanted him out 2 seasons on the bounce? So it's a bit of a 50-50 for me. Personally, I hope it doesn't happen and we actually go into the market, because our intention is not to recall Trevoh Chalobah and keep him. It's just because we need cover. I'd rather we go and get the player, the right profile player, the one that's going to fit Maresca's team, the one that the owners actually want in the club. Go and get that player and bring him to the club. And if you can't do it now, then you're going to have to trust Josh Achiampong to play centre-back. You're going to have to trust Tosin to play centre-back. You're going to have to hope that Badia Shil plays a little bit better when he comes back from his injury. So maybe you have to hope that Reece James can fill in at right centre-back if he can stay fit. So if you can't get it addressed in this winter window, don't recall Trevoh Chalobah, because you need him now. You needed him in the summer and you got rid of him. So the ownership, it's showing slowly. The cracks are starting to show with the ownership, with the manager, with the players, with the results. It's all falling apart very quickly for Chelsea. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you haven't already, make sure you go back and listen to the earlier debate that myself, Kojo and Damon had on Trent Alexander-Arnold and all the things Liverpool, Manchester United match yesterday. Let us know what you think in there. I'll drop the link into that right here as well, so you can hit that straight away. As always, we'll have another video for you tomorrow where we'll be previewing the Carabao Cup fixtures as well. So make sure you tune into that one tomorrow. And until then, I'll be back very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and we'll be back very soon.